You two have fun.
You live with your parents?
I've lived upstairs since I was 3.
It's gonna take a stick of dynamite to get me out of my parents' house.
You know, I think Heidi would be okay with that.
Some of us would be okay with that, maybe. Who knows?
Many of us are settling into the new fall routine, and for some of you, that may mean your first semester without your kids in the house with you.
Oh my goodness, the empty nest, huh?
Yes.
Maybe this is the senior year or even junior year for your young one, and you're starting to strategize that big move, and that means it's starting to feel real, and you can kind of get those emotions geared up 1 or 2 years too early, Heidi.
Real. And look who's on this story.
Surprise!
We've been riding this emotional wave with you, and I'm exhausted, frankly.
These two, I mean, everybody in the newsroom is like, can she just get that kid off to college? For God's sakes, it's been dragging out. It's really been the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So I know a lot of you probably feel me on this, but at some point we do all need to launch our kids. But we don't realize just how hard that's going to be. Totally guilty.
She's going to cry during the intro.
Jessica goes, don't you dare cry. So I sat down with my friends because I was like, I can't do this. Anyway, here's what they had to say and some tips from a counselor to get us all through this.
From the day they're born, we work to turn these babies into strong, confident, independent adults. And then somewhat suddenly, they become exactly that.
All of a sudden, they're just not there. You know, they're not at the dinner table, they're gone. And so, again, it's bittersweet because they've done what you've raised them to do, but then it's so hard and sad when they're gone.
Nikki Kennedy and Ann Webdale have each just launched kids. Both say it's been tough.
He was more of the peacemaker of the family, so I've lost this constant flow of this peacemaker. Now I've got the other 2 children here, which are wonderful, but they miss him.
Psychiatrist Dr. Lisa Stroman says even though it's what we're supposed to do, sending kids away isn't easy.
But nobody really talks about what it feels like once they leave. And so that loss that we have as a parent and honestly, like the lack of control.
She says it's normal to grieve that change as a very deep loss. That's why she says it's so important to prepare emotionally just as much as you do logistically. Parents of high school seniors, she's talking to you.
I think that the number one thing parents can do with a senior is not to overemphasize that last time or last year that we have with them. I think a lot of times the mistake that I see is that they're like, this is my last year that I have you at home. Let's go out, let's do this, let's have time together. And it really is that part where you should be preparing for less time together. And that last year should be kind of a dry run, so to speak, to see how they handle that freedom.
A mistake Ann says she made.
I wanted to go to every cross-country meet. I didn't want to miss any. I wanted to go to every soccer game. I wanted to be involved with every step of the way with just being a part of his life. So I feel at this point now that I was being somewhat selfish.
Stroman says, no surprise here, this change hits moms a lot harder than it does dads.
That emotional bond, that connection with a mom and a child is a little bit stronger and it's more empathic. That's the person where you go when you're hurting or things are sad.
Another mistake, while we're busy getting our kids ready to leave, we aren't getting ourselves ready to stay.
We might have jobs or careers or things like that, but our primary focus, if you asked anybody, was like, well, I'm a mom, and that's going to take a priority. So when your kids go off and they start taking the responsibility for themselves, all of a sudden we have an identity crisis.
It's more trying to decide what it is I'm going to do. You know, run for House Senate or something. You know what I mean? Do something like change the world. Yeah, vote for Nikki. You know.
And just know this is all part of the process.
They're all doing what we raised them to do, and so that, again, back to the bittersweet, is exciting.
Okay, so a couple of other things to note. They're laughing and I'm not going to cry.
Yes,
she
you are.
says sending boys off is harder because they go off the radar.
Don't you cry.
Hey,
He's 7, Olivia.
I've got time, right?
Good time.
You got like 2 years.
But she says rebranding yourself is a great lesson for your kids because they're always watching you, so you have to be strong and set that example for them. And
Have
back
you
to the
done that?
mother and father thing. Jay, you know my boyfriend, he says they call it smothering, not smothering for a reason. He's like, you moms. I'm like,
That's so
shut up,
true.
Jay. But it is true. It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really sad though when they go off to college and they never come home again.
You know
ever
what?
Again.
Listen,
Stop it.
I'm
Never
doing
see
okay
him
right
ever
now.
again.
These girls have been great the last year. He has been awful.
Did any of this make it better? Any of the interviews that you did?
No.
Did it resonate? Nothing resonated.
Well, no, it all resonated. It didn't make it better.
Every second of every day to my core.
You know, it helped because I know I'm not alone,
Yeah.
but man, I did everything she said to not do, I did.
Yeah.
And she says once they're off to college, turn off the Life 360. Still have it on.
Yeah.
I still know where she is.
Oh, man.
In Tennessee, but that's okay.
I
least
do
you're still
not blame
coming to
you
work
one bit.
Most days.
In my opinion, you've done everything right.
Yes.
Look
Thank
at
you.
look at your
Good
kids are
job.
great, and it's hard.
Everything will be fine.
Yes.